Every morning, before the world reaches you, before messages flood your phone, before stress knocks on your door, before doubts begin to whisper, you are presented with a rare and powerful moment, a clean slate, a chance to reprogram your mind and start fresh. And this moment, although brief, holds immense transformative power. Most people miss it. They rush through it, distracted, half awake, grabbing their phones, already reacting to the world. But if you pause, if you decide to own those first few moments of your day, you gain control over your life in a way that can shift your reality entirely. Your mind is most impressionable in the first few minutes after waking. This is when your subconscious is wide open, like fertile soil ready for planting. Whatever thoughts you feed it, positive or negative, will begin to shape your attitude, your choices, and ultimately, your destiny. Imagine if you filled those moments with powerful intentions, reminders of your strength, your goals, your purpose. Imagine if, instead of letting the world dictate your mood, you chose to install focus, gratitude, and clarity into your day. That one shift would separate you from 99% of people who wake up on autopilot. Reprogramming your mind doesn't require anything fancy. You don't need a guru or a new gadget. What you need is presence and repetition. You need to make a conscious decision to take control of your thoughts. Every morning, without fail. This can be as simple as speaking affirmations to yourself. I am focused. I am strong. I am in control of my day. I welcome challenges, because I am built to overcome them. Say it, believe it, breathe it. The first time you may not feel it. The 10th time it might feel silly. But the 100th time, it becomes your truth. That's the power of repetition. Repetition rewires the brain. It redefines what you accept as normal. It builds belief. Think of your mind like a computer. Overnight, while you sleep, that computer reboots. When you wake up, you get to decide which programs run. Will you open the program called self-doubt, or the one called discipline? Will you load fear or focus? The beauty is that you are the coder. You can rewrite the scripts, and the best way to do that is to consciously install thoughts and beliefs that serve your higher self the moment you rise. Far too often, people wait for motivation to show up. They hope for a good day. But real power comes from deciding that it will be a good day. Not because everything goes right, but because you choose to be intentional. You choose to respond instead of react. You choose to stay aligned with your goals. And all of that starts with how you begin your morning. If the first words you hear are filled with purpose, fire, and clarity, your actions will follow, and your life inevitably will begin to transform. There's another truth you need to hear. Your mind is constantly being programmed, whether you know it or not. If you don't take control, the world will do it for you. Social media, the news, other people's expectations, all of these are feeding you ideas about who you are and what you should fear or chase. But when you deliberately reprogram your mind each morning, you block out the noise. You remind yourself that you are in the driver's seat. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a creator of opportunity. You are not here to survive the day. You are here to shape it. You might say, but I'm not a morning person. That's just a belief. And like all beliefs, it can be changed. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. to win the day, but you do have to wake up with purpose. Before anything else. Before checking messages, before scrolling. Just sit in silence, or speak your goals aloud, or play something like this video that charges your spirit. You'll feel the difference almost immediately. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you're not lost. You know where you're going. This habit becomes even more powerful when paired with consistency. Doing it once feels good. Doing it for 30 days changes your identity. You start to see yourself differently. More sensible, more committed. And that shift in identity is what ultimately drives long-term change. Because once your mind believes something about you, your actions align with that belief. You don't have to force motivation anymore. It flows through you naturally because your foundation is strong. This is not about being perfect. Some days your thoughts will be scattered. Some mornings you'll feel resistance. That's okay. The key is to show up anyway. To speak life into your mind even when it's clouded. To remind yourself of your worth even when you feel low. Because every single day, you have a choice: feed your fears or fuel your growth. You make that choice every morning, whether consciously or not. Make it intentionally. Make it powerfully. Make it yours. When you reprogram your mind every morning, you stop waiting for life to happen. You become the one who makes life happen. You lead your emotions. You drive your focus. You set the tone. And when you do that day after day, you build a life of purpose, power, and peace. From the inside out. Most people live their lives trapped in invisible cages. Not cages made of bars or walls, but of thoughts, habit, fears, and old stories they keep repeating to themselves. These are the limiting patterns that quietly rule your life. They show up in the excuses you make, the doubts you carry, the beliefs that say, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never change." The worst part, most of these patterns were never chosen by you. They were absorbed. From childhood, from society, from failure, rejection, or fear. And unless you break free from them, they will keep you stuck in the same cycle, no matter how much you want to grow. Change begins the moment you become aware of what is holding you back. You cannot fix what you don't face. So take a hard look at your life. Where do you feel stuck? What do you always avoid? What's the voice in your head saying when you're alone and things go wrong? That voice is not your truth, it's your conditioning. It's the echo of past experiences that you never challenged. But today, you have a choice. You can start to question those thoughts. You can decide not to let fear win. You can interrupt the story. Limiting patterns are sneaky. They often disguise themselves as logic. They sound reasonably. I don't have crowd ever will. I don't have enough time. I'm tired. I'm not ready. But what they're really saying is, stay safe. Don't try. Don't fail. And if you listen, you'll never stretch beyond the small box that fear built for you. You'll never find out what you're capable of because you'll always settle for comfort over growth. That's why you must disrupt the loop. The same thoughts will always lead to the same actions. The same actions will always create the same life. If you want different, you have to think different and do different every single day. It starts with your awareness. Begin to observe yourself, not with judgment, but with honesty. Notice the patterns. Are you always talking yourself out of your goals? Are you always seeking approval before making a move? Do you keep replaying past mistakes like a broken record? These are the chains. And the moment you notice them, you begin to weaken their grip. They no longer operate unconsciously. Now you see them, and once you see them, you can fight them. One of the most powerful tools to break limiting patterns is to act against them. When your mind says, "You can't do this," do it anyway. When it says, "You're not good enough," take a step forward anyway. That's how you build a new identity. Not through waiting for confidence, but by taking bold action in the presence of fear. Action creates evidence, and evidence is what rewrites belief. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you send a message to your subconscious, "I am no longer the person I used to be." Don't underestimate the power of small actions. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to make a different choice today than you did yesterday. Speak up when you normally stay silent. Go for a walk when you normally scroll your phone. Say no when you always say yes. These tiny rebellions against your patterns are how freedom begins. And over time, the more you interrupt the old script, the more space you create for a new one. You also have to let go of the story you've been telling yourself. That story might say you're a quitter, that you always mess things up, that you're not smart enough, talented, or lucky enough. But those are just stories, not facts. And stories can be rewritten. The question is, who are you choosing to be today? Because you are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are what you decide to become, starting now. The mind is powerful, but it is also programmable. If you keep feeding it the same doubts, you'll keep living the same limits. But if you feed it vision, courage, and discipline, it will begin to reflect that back to you. There will be resistance. The old patterns won't go quietly. They'll test you. They'll try to pull you back. That's normal. Change isn't a straight line. It's a battle. And every time you feel that pull to go back to your comfort zone, know that you're right at the edge of growth. That tension means you're doing the work. You're stretching the boundary of who you've always been. And if you can push through that resistance, you'll come out on the other side stronger, sharper, and more free than ever before. Surround yourself with voices that challenge your limits, not reinforce them. Listen to content that lifts your mindset, not feeds your fear. This video exists to do exactly that. To remind you daily that you are more than your patterns, more than your past, more than your excuses. Use it as a trigger to break the cycle. Let it become a habit to disrupt the habits that no longer serve you. Because the more it ever will. Because the more often you expose yourself to empowering thoughts, the more your brain adapts to that level of thinking. It's like strengthening a muscle. The more you work it, the more natural it becomes. You were not born to live small. You were not designed to stay stuck. Somewhere deep inside, you already know that. You feel it every time you dream bigger. Every time you visualize a life that seems just out of reach. That vision isn't there to torment you. It's there to guide you. But it can only become real if you break free from the chains you've unknowingly wrapped around yourself. And that begins. Not tomorrow, not next year, but today now. By choosing over and over again to rise above the limits and walk boldly into your potential. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's not a gift. It's a skill, a choice, a muscle that must be trained every single day. The people who achieve greatness in life, whether in health, success, relationships, or mindset, are not superhuman. They are simply more consistent. They've built the discipline to do what needs to be done, even when they don't feel like doing it. Especially when they don't feel like doing it. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. The weak from the strong. The ones who try from the ones who become. And if you want to change your life, you must build discipline like a warrior. Fiercely, intentionally, and relentlessly. Discipline is the foundation of everything meaningful. Motivation fades. Feelings change. Circumstances shift. But discipline is what remains steady. It's the voice that says, get up, when your body screams, stay down. It's the hand that closes the app, opens the book, silences the noise, and locks into the goal. A warrior doesn't ask if they feel like fighting. They show up for the battle because that's what warriors do. They understand that every day is a war against weakness, laziness, distraction, and fear. And they come ready. To build this kind of discipline, you must first understand one simple true thing. Discipline is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing something consistently. It's the art of showing up, day after day, no matter what. Even if it's just one small action, even if it's imperfect, consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds identity. And identity is what changes behavior for the long term. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Discipline is the system that carries you when motivation disappears. Start with your choices. Discipline is built in the little decisions no one sees. Do you hit snooze or get up? Do you scroll or study? Do you quit when it's hard or push through when it counts? Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you are training your mind to obey your goals, not your emotions. And with enough repetition, this becomes who you are. The key isn't to always feel motivated. The key is to do it anyway. Do it tired. Do it uninspired. Do it uncomfortable. That's how warriors are built. In the trenches, not in the spotlight. You have to realize that the mind will resist discipline. It craves comfort. It wants safety, pleasure, and escape. It will give you every reason to take the easy way out. That's where the battle lies. And your job is to recognize that resistance, then act in spite of it. It's not about eliminating the excuses. It's about becoming stronger than them. The disciplined mind doesn't avoid the hard path. It seeks it, because it knows that's where strength is forged. No one becomes unstoppable by staying comfortable. You earn your power through discomfort, repetition, and grit. Discipline also requires clarity. You must know why you are pushing. You can't just aimlessly force effort. You need a reason that fuels your fire. Ask yourself, who do I want to become? What kind of life do I want to live? What am I willing to sacrifice to make that happen? When your reason is clear, your discipline becomes non-negotiable. You're not just getting up early, You're preparing yourself for the life you said you wanted. You're not just saying no to distractions. You're saying yes to your future. Warriors know their purpose, and that's what keeps them in the fight. You will fail sometimes. You will fall short. But that's not the end of the journey. It's part of the process. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being relentless. You fall, you get up. You slip, you reset. You keep going because every time you rise, you build resilience. Every time you push forward, you build self-respect. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-love. Not the soft kind, but the tough kind. The kind that holds you accountable, even when no one's watching. The kind that says, I will not betray my own potential. To build discipline like a warrior, you must also control your environment. You can't rely on willpower alone. Set up systems that support your focus. Remove the temptations. Structure your day with intention. Surround yourself with people, messages, and routines that reinforce your goals. Warriors train in the right environment. They don't wait for the battlefield to sharpen their swords. They prepare in advance. Your habits, your space, your daily rituals, they all shape your ability to stay disciplined. And finally, reward progress, not just outcomes. Celebrate the days you showed up, not just the big wins. Discipline grows when you acknowledge your effort. When you recognize that every time your mind says, take it easy, remember who you're becoming. Remember what you're fighting for. Then rise like a warrior and do it anyway. In a world that never stops shouting, one of the hardest yet most powerful things you can do is to be still. Every day, we're bombarded with distractions. Notifications, opinions, comparisons, trends, fears, and noise. This constant stream of input can drown out the most important voice you'll ever hear in your own. And unless you learn to silence the noise, you'll never truly hear your inner power. You'll live reactive, not intentional. You'll follow what's popular, not what's purposeful. And you'll look everywhere for answers except the one place they've always been. Within. The noise around you is not just loud. It's persuasive. It tries to convince you that you're not enough unless you look a certain way, achieve certain things, or live a life that mirrors someone else's highlight reel. It feeds you doubt, tells you to rush, and pushes you to constantly prove yourself. But the truth is, you don't need more approval. You don't need to be constantly validated. What you need is to get quiet enough to remember who you are. You need a crowd ever will. You to reconnect with the part of you that knows your worth isn't tied to your followers, your income, or your achievements. It's tied to your existence. Your inner power is always there, but it whispers. And you can't hear whispers when you're surrounded by noise. That's why you must create space for silence. Not just external silence, but internal silence. Moments when you're not consuming, not comparing, not reacting, just being. This isn't weakness. It's strength, because it takes power to disconnect. It takes courage to turn down the volume of the world and tune into the frequency of your soul. That frequency is calm, confident, and clear. It doesn't panic. It doesn't chase. It guides. You already have intuition. You already have vision. But those things don't scream for attention like the world does. They wait for you to be still enough to notice. Think about the last time you truly listened to your own inner voice. Not the voice of fear, not the voice of ego. The one that speaks from truth, not trauma. That voice is often ignored because it's subtle. It doesn't pressure. It leads. It doesn't panic. It trusts. And when you start listening to it, your life begins to change. You stop asking for direction from everyone else. You stop trying to fit into places that don't feel right. You start walking your own path with quiet conviction. But make no mistake, silencing the noise is not easy. It requires discipline. It means saying no to distractions. It means protecting your mental space the same way you'd protect your home. You don't just let anyone walk in and destroy your peace. So why do you let negative voices, pointless scrolling, or other people's opinions camp out in your mind? You have to become the guardian of your focus, your time and your energy, because what you allow in shapes what comes out. And if all you consume is chaos, you'll begin to feel like chaos. One of the best things you can do each day is spend time alone. Without music, without screens, without stimulation. Just you and your thoughts. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. That's normal. Most people are not used to being alone with their inner world. But with time, that space becomes your sanctuary. You begin to sort through your thoughts. You start to notice patterns. You uncover insights that were buried under the noise. This clarity is powerful. It helps you make better decisions. It makes you more resilient, and it reconnects you to your purpose. Your inner power isn't something you need to chase. It's something you need to uncover. It's already there, beneath the layers of doubt, fear, and conditioning. And once you tap into it, everything shifts. You begin to move differently, speak differently, choose differently. You stop living to impress and start living to express. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. This shift doesn't happen in chaos. It happens in stillness. That's where real transformation begins. The world will keep trying to pull you away from yourself. It will tempt you with speed, noise, and constant distraction. But the truth is, the more noise you remove, the more power you gain. Because in the quiet, you don't just hear your inner voice. You trust it. You learn that you are enough without the noise. That you don't need more to be more. That your greatest strength is not in being everything for everyone, but in being fully and unapologetically you. You are not lost. You are just disconnected. And reconnection doesn't come through noise. It comes through awareness, presence, and intention. So carve out moments of silence. Honor them. Let them become your reset, your compass, your fire. Because in those quiet spaces, you'll remember that you are not your doubts, your mistakes, or your limitations. You are potential. You are purpose. You are power. And that power, once awakened, does not rely on noise to survive. It moves in silence. It grows in stillness. It leads from within. And once you begin to live from that place, no external noise can control you again. A crowd ever will. Everything in your focus, your actions, your growth, begins with your energy. If your energy is low, scattered, or constantly drained, even the greatest intentions will collapse. Energy is the fuel behind your discipline, your clarity, your purpose. But most people move through life without protecting it. They give it away carelessly to things, people, and environments that leave them feeling empty, distracted, or defeated. The truth is, until you take full control of your energy and the environment that shapes it, you will always feel like you're running on empty, constantly trying to catch up, but never quite gaining control. You have to understand that your energy is your responsibility. No one else can manage it for you. Not your family, not your friends, not the world. It's up to you to become aware of what lifts you up and what pulls you down. Begin by asking yourself, who drains me? What activities leave me feeling empty? What places or situations rob me of peace? On the flip side, what charges me? What environments make me feel strong, clear, and focused? This level of awareness is critical, because every single day you are either fueling your life or feeding your fatigue. You are either expanding or depleting, and that choice is being made moment by moment, often without realizing it. One of the most overlooked truths is that your environment shapes your behavior more than motivation ever will. You could be the most ambitious person in the world, but if you're constantly surrounded by noise, chaos, negativity, or temptation, your growth will be limited. If you're trying to stay focused in an environment full of distraction, you're fighting an uphill battle every day. That's why the first step toward taking control is curating your space, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Remove what doesn't serve you. Add what inspires you. Design your space to reflect the life you want to build, not the one you're trying to escape. Taking control of your energy also means protecting your time. Time is energy in motion. Where your time goes, your focus flows. And where your focus flows, your results grow. If you constantly allow others to dictate your schedule, interrupt your routines, or waste your precious hours, you're handing over your power. You must learn to say no to anything that doesn't align with your mission. That could mean distancing yourself from certain people, limiting exposure to negative media, or setting firm boundaries with your phone. You're not being rude. You're being responsible. Because every yes to someone else's urgency is a potential no to your own growth. But control doesn't mean isolation. It means intentionality. You must be intentional about who you allow into your inner circle. Energy is contagious. If you're surrounded by people who are lazy, negative, constantly complaining, or lacking purpose, it will rub off on you. Even if you don't notice it right away, your standards will slowly begin to slip. Your ambition will quietly fade. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who push you, support you, challenge you to rise, and hold you accountable to your highest self, your energy will naturally elevate. So choose wisely. Your circle is your ecosystem, and ecosystems either produce growth or decay. Sometimes taking control of your energy means disconnecting from social media, from the noise of the world, from the constant need to be available. The most powerful clarity often comes in stillness. Schedule time to unplug, to breathe, to move your body, to listen to your thoughts without the influence of a screen. Your energy doesn't come from more consumption. It comes from alignment. And alignment only happens when you get quiet enough to hear what your mind and body actually need. That's how you recharge. Not by escaping life, but by reconnecting to it with intention. Another critical part of managing your energy is monitoring your self-talk. Your inner dialogue creates your emotional state. If you're constantly criticizing yourself, doubting your ability, or anticipating failure, you're draining your own energy before the world even has a chance to. You have to become your own source of strength, not your own source of sabotage. Speak to yourself with clarity, truth, and courage. Remind yourself of your vision, your discipline, your capacity. A crowd ever will. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present enough to recognize when your own energy is being wasted on things that don't matter. You also must prioritize physical energy. Your body is the vehicle through which your potential is expressed. If you neglect your health, your sleep, with a crowd ever will, your movement, your nutrition, you'll never access the energy required to achieve what you're capable of. There's no magic trick for high performance. It starts with the basics: rest deeply, move often, eat clean, hydrate well. When your body is strong, your mind becomes sharper, your emotions become more stable, your focus becomes more consistent. Energy is not just a mindset. It's a state of being, and that state must be built and protected. Taking control of your energy and environment is an act of self-leadership. It's a declaration that your life is too important to be shaped by randomness, noise, or other people's agendas. It's a commitment to your future self, to show up every day with intention, to create conditions that support your growth, to stop waiting for the world to change and start becoming the one who shapes your world. No one can do this for you. But once you make the decision to take control, everything else starts to shift. Your habits improve, your mood lifts, your vision sharpens. You move through the day with purpose instead of panic. You begin to attract opportunities and people that match your frequency. And it all starts with that one choosing to no longer be passive with your energy, but to own it, to protect it, to rise with it. Because when you control your energy, you control your life. Life moves fast. Days blur together. Weeks pass in a flash. And if you're not careful, you can wake up one day and realize you've been drifting, not living. This is why daily self-reflection is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the discipline of slowing down just long enough to ask yourself, am I becoming who I want to be? It's the act of pausing to examine your thoughts, choices, habits, and emotions. Without this daily pause, you live on autopilot, reacting, repeating patterns without ever understanding why. But when you master the art of daily self-reflection, everything changes. You stop living by accident and start living with intention. Self-reflection isn't about judgment or guilt. It's not about obsessing over mistakes or reliving regrets. It's about awareness. It's about honesty. It's about confronting your life with clarity so you can move forward with purpose. When you make this a daily habit, you begin to understand yourself in ways most people never do. You learn your triggers, your patterns, your blind spots. You recognize when you're drifting and gently pull yourself back to alignment. You learn to lead your life rather than be led by emotion or circumstance. Most people are afraid to face themselves. They stay busy to avoid that quiet confrontation. But what they're really avoiding is growth. Because real growth starts with self-awareness. And self-awareness starts with asking hard questions. What did I do today that moved me forward? What did I do today that held me back? Where was I strong? Where did I compromise my values? These aren't questions to make you feel bad. They're questions that sharpen your character, your focus, your direction. When you ask them daily, you build a relationship with yourself that's rooted in truth. Reflection gives you feedback, and feedback is how you improve. Just like an athlete watches game footage to correct form and make better decisions. You must review your day to identify what's working and what needs to change. This doesn't have to take long. Even 5 or 10 minutes at the end of each day can be life-changing. A quiet moment, a notebook, a few honest questions. That's all it takes. But that small act compounds. It builds clarity, it builds intention. It builds the internal compass you need to navigate life's challenges. One of the greatest benefits of daily self-reflection is emotional intelligence. You begin to notice the patterns behind your feelings. You start recognizing, I was anxious because I didn't plan my day. Or, I was frustrated because I didn't speak up. This kind of insight creates emotional freedom. You no longer feel controlled by your emotions. You understand them. You work with them. You learn from them. And as you grow more emotionally intelligent, your relationships improve. Your decisions improve. Your inner peace strengthens. Another benefit is that self-reflection helps you stay aligned with your goals. It's easy to set a goal once and then forget why you started. But when you reflect daily, you reconnect with your purpose. You remember what matters. You recommit. You also start to catch when you're off track. Before things spiral. Maybe you notice you've been skipping workouts. Maybe you see your screen time creeping up. Maybe you feel yourself snapping at people more than usual. These little red flags are signals, and reflection turns them into course corrections. It helps you make small shifts before you need major recovery. Reflection also builds gratitude. When you pause each day to notice what went right, even if the day was hard, you train your mind to see the good. Maybe you had a deep conversation, finished a task, or simply made it through a challenge. Acknowledging these wins fuels your spirit. It reminds you that progress is being made, even if it's slow. Gratitude through reflection isn't about ignoring problems. It's about refusing to overlook your strength. And as you make reflection a habit, something deeper begins to happen. You develop self-trust. You start to believe in your own ability to face life honestly. You trust yourself to make changes, to improve, to grow. You stop outsourcing your validation. You stop needing someone else to tell you how you're doing. You know, because you check in with yourself daily. You've become your own mirror. And that kind of self-reliance is rare and powerful. There will be days when you don't feel like reflecting. Days when you're tired or discouraged. But those are the days it matters most. Because reflection isn't just for good days. It's for the messy ones too. The failures, the slips, the moments you lost your cool. Those moments hold gold, if you're brave enough to mine it. Don't run from them. Sit with them. Ask, what can I learn from this? That's how growth happens. Not by avoiding the pain, but by understanding it. This habit doesn't require perfection. You don't need a fancy journal or a long routine. What matters is consistency. Show up every day, even if only for a few minutes. Create a rhythm. Make it sacred. Let it become your nightly reset button. A time to return to yourself, to check your alignment, to adjust your sails. Because without reflection, you may keep working hard but heading in the wrong direction. And that's not progress. That's exhaustion. When you master the art of daily self-reflection, you gain the ability to steer your life with intention. You start to live on purpose, not just out of habit. You build depth, you build wisdom. And most of all, you build the kind of self-awareness that turns ordinary people into extraordinary leaders of their goals, their values, and their lives.